Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to X Brix. So a while back I was scrolling through Pinterest to look at some inspiration for some LEGO Star Wars MOCs, but I kept getting recommended these Last of Us MOCs. And I haven't actually played the video game or watched the series, but just by looking at the MOCs, I was getting really excited about the genre of apocalypse or zombie apocalypse. And since it's been a while since I made a zombie apocalypse MOC, I thought, hey, maybe today's the day. And so today is the day. And in this video, I'm going to be building a zombie apocalypse MOC. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Alright, next step is the plan. I know a lot of LEGO builders do this, and I'm no exception, but I design or do a little sketch of my MOC beforehand before I build them, for most of them. So basically the MOC is going to be relatively big for my standards. It's on this side, it's going to have terrain and a chipped sidewalk, and then this is going to be like a tire yard kind of, that you sometimes see on the outskirts of a city. And then surrounding the tire yard, or kind of enclosing the tire yard, is going to be a fence. And I'm going to use these net pieces to make the fence. I think it's going to look really cool. And then there's going to be a road sign, a dilapidated road sign. And then on the other side, there's going to be this motel or hotel. And it's going to be old and run down. I actually already did some of the lettering for it, or experimented with the lettering, and I really like how that looks. So I'm definitely going to use that in there. And then finally, we're going to have like a road in the center. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the road here, like I sketched out, but definitely the road is going to be here. And then here, this is what it's kind of going to look like. So it's going to look like the road is broken, and it's going to be spilling off of the black border here. So I think that'll look pretty cool. I think that pretty much explains everything. I'm going to go and lay out the foundation now. I started out by laying down all the big 16 by 16 plates that I had, which were only 3, but then continued to make a large rectangle with other large plates. I then connected all the plates together with 2x4 and 2x2 filler bricks. I also made sure to always keep checking my reference length of the road, which is this stack of gray bricks that you keep seeing, as the road is the center of the build and I needed to base the rest of the MOC off of where the road was situated. I also created a black border by making a ring of black plates and bricks around the entire build. Alright, I finished building the base of the MOC and adding the filler brick. You might also notice that on these two sides I have full bricks, and then in the middle I have just plates, and that's because I want the road to be lower down. So I don't want the road to be like up here, if you know what I mean. I want it to be down here, and this part to be higher up than the road. And then I also built up the sides with 2 plates underneath, and then a brick, and then I'm going to just tile it off. I then added some more 2x4 and 2x2 bricks, but this time in dark gray, to highlight both sides of the road that would be running down the center of the MOC. And after all that was completed, I moved on to building the actual section of the road. For this, I used a lot of plates and tiles, modified bricks, masonry bricks, and regular bricks, and stacked them on top of each other to create one long slate of bricks with the classic yellow and white road lines. This would then be able to be easily slipped into its reserved section of the MOC by laying the slate down on its side. Alright, so I'm almost done the road. As you can see, I have it right here. And yeah, it's just pretty old and dilapidated, with masonry bricks and a few splotches of olive green to give it that, like some moss almost has appeared on it. And then you got the classic white and yellow lines. I just got to do the other white line and then continue it and make it look finished. But basically, here, if I just move some stuff out of the way. Oh, it's bigger than I thought. So this thing right here is going to go kind of right in the center there. And then I left the ends a little bit undone because I wanted to fool around with this thing before finalizing it. So that'll kind of go right here if you kind of see where I'm going with everything. But yeah, so let's get straight to it. Alright, pretty much finished up the road now. As you can see, I finished up the section that was missing here, all along here. And yeah, it's just basically a snot technique, which means studs not on top. So basically laying a stack of bricks just on their side. I also added the little manhole, which I thought was awesome, with a little zombie coming out. And then at the end of the road here, you can see the part where it's kind of like broken off, as I was telling, as I was saying before. I'm not too happy with this result. I think it's a little too busy, like there's too much going on, so I might modify it before the final MOC. But for now, it's good. And yeah, so let's get straight back to building. I then started to build the sidewalk on the left side of the road. For this, I used a lot of tiles and plates, as well as a couple of grill pieces and an assortment of other modified tiles to make the concrete look dilapidated. I tried to make the entire sidewalk look run down, so instead of making it smooth and all on one level, I stacked a lot of plates randomly on top of each other in some areas and made gaps in the concrete in other areas. Moving even more to the left, I again used a lot of plates and tiles for the dirty ground where the tire yard would be, and tried to make it a smooth yet random transition from the sidewalk. I also placed some foliage and plant stems across the ground to make the overgrown look of everything that much more prominent. Now for the design of these fences I was talking about earlier, I basically just used a net piece and threaded a bunch of bar pieces through the two sides, the top, and diagonally across the whole thing. I was really looking forward to using this technique in the MOC, and I'm honestly super happy with how it looks. I then worked a little bit off camera on the other side of the road, but that's okay. It was much of the same type of thing with the sidewalk. I then continued with more terrain and more foliage. Here's a cool little design for a door if you don't want to use the plain pre-made one LEGO makes. I just stacked a lot of plates on top of each other with some tiles to give it extra texture, then slid it in between the two walls of the hotel. I thought it was cool to make the door dark red and brown because it kind of looks like the paint has been chipped off. I then worked on building up the wall of the hotel. I wanted to make it as textured as I could without being too textured, if you know what I mean. So I used some plain bricks, a lot of masonry bricks, headlight bricks, and slopes to create this really cool crack in the wall. I also included some plates that were olive green to again simulate moss and mold. I also added some small details to the wall, like this air vent, a cool little pipe system, and some vines creeping up the side. Okay, the building's almost done. But I still need to put on this hotel sign, and so I'm going to just continue to build up the hotel walls, another 4 blocks, as you can see, and then slap on that hotel sign, build the roof, and then we should be pretty much almost done. I had been contemplating what color I should do for the roof, but decided on dark gray because I thought it would nicely match the road. I used some inverted slopes on the corners, then attached some grill pieces onto 1x4 snot bricks and placed them all along the sides. I then worked on filling up the inside of the motel with support and filler pieces, because for this MOC I wasn't going to make an interior, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry, interior designers. In my personal opinion, this section where there's a bunch of filler pieces is always the most boring part of any MOC to build. But hey, we all have to do things we don't enjoy, even if it's to create something awesome in the end. I then continued on with building up the roof and tiling it off. Now all that was left to do was to add some extra details, like a telephone pole and the actual tires for the tire yard, as well as the fun minifigures that would bring this whole thing to life. Now, before I show you guys the photos, I'd just like to say thank you all so much for the support I've been receiving recently on the channel. It truly means so much to me that you guys continuously comment nice things and tune into my content. I hope you guys enjoyed this style of video, and I also hope you learned something from my building process. Alright, that's enough talk.